Hey, it is Whitney K, business coach, marketing agency owner, and your host of the Uno Mas podcast, where overwhelmed female entrepreneurs and founders come to get real, actionable advice on how to ditch burnout and build a business that actually works for them. Here you'll access tips, proven strategies, and unfiltered conversations with industry leaders. You've opened up ChatGPT and you're staring at the screen and you're like, okay, now what? Well, that was me just the other morning. I had this foggy idea that I wanted to develop a business plan, get clear on my content strategy, maybe map out a simple marketing game plan, but I didn't know really where to start. So instead of trying to come up with the perfect question or prompt, I flipped it. I asked ChatGPT, what questions do you need to ask me in order to help me build a business strategy? And then go through them one by one. And when I did that, it changed everything. Because the truth is, we're usually too close to our own stuff and we can't see the holes and we don't know the right questions to ask. And then we wonder why we're spinning our wheels, right? But when ChatGPT started asking me those key questions, it's like the fog lifted. I got clarity on my offer, my messaging, my content, and even how to structure a growth plan, literally in a 45-minute walk. So in today's episode, I'm sharing it with you. The exact questions ChatGPT asked me that helped me unlock my full strategy, the 5 deeper prompts I asked it back to actually build the plan, and then how you can use the same back and forth dialogue to get unstuck and build faster. So let's go ahead and dive right in. You heard that right. Whitney was on a walk developing marketing and strategy plans with ChatGPT. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to my own business, I get stuck. I always remember as a little girl, we had a cleaning lady, but she also babysat me and my sister from time to time. And she was so good, from what I can remember, cleaning our house. But then when we would go over to her house to have her babysit us, it was like a disaster pit. I don't know why she didn't take her on her own like cleaning methods for her own house, but I kind of feel like that's just like what we do in life. We're so good at doing something for other people, but when it comes to us, it's like we like short circuit and just get stuck. So even though I have my businesses and I already have my strategies and my business plan in place, I, from time to time, like to go back, and I highly recommend you do as well, go back to these things because sometimes they're like in prehistoric time, right? We need to revive them. We need to enhance them. We need to take a look back at where we originally thought we wanted to go and how we wanted to go about doing things, but maybe they just need a little dusting off and revamping. So when I was going on my walk, which I do every single morning for about 45 minutes. I walk roughly around like 3 to 4 walk and run roughly around 3 to 4 miles. And I just sit there and I think to myself like, okay, typically I listen to a podcast. Typically I, listen to music or whatever. But today I wanted to have a conversation with Chachi, and that's what I call ChatGPT. It was a funny name and how that came about. I was voice messaging to somebody asking them if they had ever used ChatGPT, and it came out as Chachi. The voice to text did, and she's like, "I don't even know what Chachi is. What is that?" And I just lost it. And so, like ever since then, ChatGPT has been called Chachi, and that's what I call it. So I was having a conversation with Chachi, aka ChatGPT, on my walk, and I was like, I was thinking to myself, I want to develop a marketing plan, a strategy, an organic growth plan on social media. And so I decided to kind of let ChatGPT take the lead in this. And I just wanted to kind of see where it went. So instead of like feeding it data, I gave it a goal. And the goal was to help me develop a business and marketing plan an organic marketing plan. And so it had the goal, and that's what I was really excited about. I was like, I'm taking the pressure off of me having to develop it, which I do all the time. I'm going to have it develop it for me. And it responded by asking me key inputs, which basically flipped the coaching dynamic. And what I started off the conversation with, and here's a note, you can go in and text it all out. I don't recommend that. Okay. Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. Go in and type it all out if you want. I did the voice conversation with Chachi. So I got in there and I voice spoke with ChatGPT, and we just had a back and forth dialogue. You can change it to a male voice, a female voice. You can change the tonality of ChatGPT, whatever you want to have your ChatGPT, you can kind of fully customize it. And I loved that ability. So I had a voice conversation, but one of the first things I said before I kicked off and we went down this rabbit hole was, what questions do you need to ask me in order to help me build a business and organic marketing strategy and plan? And I want you to go through them one by one, because here's another tip. If you ask it to give you a bunch of questions, that's what it's going to do. It's just going to list off a bunch of questions. So I basically said, I want you to go through them one by one so we can kind of talk this out and work through this. And it responded. It was like, great, absolutely, I can do that. Let's go. So this helped force so much clarity, and it made me define what I actually wanted. It was almost like, it's kind of scary saying this because I know it's artificial intelligence, but it was almost like having my own coach. I've had tons of coaches, many of which have poured into me more than I think ChatGPT ever will be able to do, because there's an emotional, personal dynamic to having a physical coach. But ChatGPT was able to really go deeper and help me like really brainstorm in a way that I don't know if I have, or no, I have. Maybe it's like, I felt like on the spot more, I guess, if that, I don't even know if that makes sense. We're just going to go forward, but hopefully that makes sense. So anyways, this matters because, people want answers before they have the right questions, right? And I figured I am going to slow my roll. I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going to have ChatGPT ask me the right questions so that I can get the right answers in response. So I'm going to share with you some of the questions that ChatGPT asked me, and you can start thinking about. But if you go through this process with ChatGPT on your own, you're going to have this probably similar questions, but it'd be very interesting to see if it asks you similar ones compared to the ones it asked me. So let's just share some of the ones that it asked me. So it started off by saying, what specific problem does your business solve? And I thought about it, and that was easy. I responded to that. And it said, who is your ideal consumer or client? And that was easy. I responded to that. And here's the thing. At any point, if you don't know the answer to the question, or you can't come up with it, say that. Say, you know what? I really don't know the answer to this. Can you ask me additional questions to help me better develop this? I have done that, and I'll point out some of the questions that I did that too. Then it said, what is your primary offer or service? Okay. And you don't have to list one. You can say, I said, my primary offer is coaching services. I also do group coaching. I also have digital products and services, and things like that. So I kind of like went down a little bit, and then it asked me additional questions to refine that. And then it said, what makes your approach or solution different? That I got stuck on a little bit, because when that question was asked to me, I started thinking about everybody else in my industry and then like comparing myself. And I kind of got stuck for a minute. I said, give me a minute. Let me think about how I want to respond to this. And it said, okay, waiting. And so then I responded, and it, gave me feedback. And then it said, what are your revenue goals? Or what do you want to focus on as far as growth in the next 6 to 12 months? And then it said, then we went through all that. Then we started diving into like the content side of things. It said, what types of content do you envision creating for social media and email marketing, because I mentioned that I do email marketing. That was another question I forgot. I didn't put it in here. It said, what like avenues of marketing are you already currently using? And then it said, okay, what type of content do you envision creating for those avenues, basically? Um, and I said, or then it said, for example, it gave me some examples. It said educational posts, behind the scene content, client testimonials, or something else. For that one, I said all of it. Like I want to do all of it, but I want it to like make sense, right? So it said, awesome, no problem. We can incorporate all of that. Then it said, what are your primary revenue streams and where do you want to focus on? Or yeah, where do you want to focus on the most? And I was like, ooh, that's a really good question because I have a lot of different revenue streams. I've got the podcast. I get paid through creating content on social media, but I'm also a coach and I also have my digital offers. I have affiliate partnerships and brand collaborations. There's like a lot of different ways that I make money. So I said that. I said, look, this is what I do and this is what I specialize in, but I leverage what I do and what I specialize in to diversify my income through all these different avenues. And so it said, great. Well, which one would you say is your primary? Would you say consulting services, digital products, affiliate marketing, or something else? And so then I gave it my like primary and then more so my secondary income generation platforms. And these questions, just let me tell you, not only just helped formulate a strategy, but it pulled it out of my head and into focus. I was like, whoa. I mean, I'm so used to asking similar questions with my clients and us going deeper on those and really enhancing that to develop that into just really a purpose and a direction for them in business. But when it came to me, I was like, duh, like I almost felt like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it was so cool. It was so cool to go through that. So then once we went through that, and by the way, once it's responding to you, it kind of tells you like what it's thinking in the process. It's like, great, thanks for that feedback. I think we should go this route. Does that sound okay with you? And you can say, yeah, that sounds great. Or no, I don't like that. Like, for example, it said, what platforms are you showing up on? And I remember saying, I'm showing up on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Or no, I said I'm showing up on Instagram and TikTok. I'm repurposing to Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube. I said Instagram has been my primary platform, but it's like becoming my least favorite, honestly, because there's just a lot of reasons. That's another podcast for another day. But Instagram is becoming my least favorite. I make more money from creating content on Facebook, okay, and TikTok. I make more money just from my content alone on both of those platforms. But Instagram is where I get the most bodies into my business. Like Instagram is where I get the most physical leads from and my email marketing. And YouTube, I see as a huge potential, not only for bodies into my business. That sounds really bad, by the way, but that's just what I'm calling it. Not only for bodies and leads into my business, but also for the opportunity to make income on the content I create. Because let's be real, like I'm not going to lie to you. If I'm going to sit here and create content every single day, and if I'm not getting a lead from the content that I create, which if everybody's like, oh yeah, every piece of content that I create generates me leads. Well, good for you, but I'd be lying to you if I said that that was true because it's not for me. I don't get leads I don't get 20 to 30 leads a day with every single piece of content that I post, okay? Some of my content is not intended for leads. But with that being said, if I'm going to, and I'm sure you can relate, if you're going to create content on these platforms, like day in and day out, and not get leads, wouldn't you like to at least be paid for the efforts of creating and pushing the content out on said platform? Yeah. So I said, I was kind of like having this conversation with Chachi. I was like, look, Instagram, I get the most leads. Facebook, I get paid the most, as well as TikTok as far as the content goes. I still get leads, but not as many as Instagram. I'm repurposing to Pinterest and YouTube, but I see a huge opportunity for me to show up on YouTube and not only get bodies, but also make income off of the content that I'm creating. Help me think this out. And it did. We went through all that. I was like mind blown with just this relationship that Chachi and I now have. It's like, it's amazing, right? So it was really cool going through that. But then after all of that was like developed, I wanted to kind of reflip the roles back to where I had control and I was back in the driver's seat, and I wanted to ask it deeper questions. So those 5 questions that I went through next were this. I said, given my answers and what we've discussed above, what would be a simple funnel for my offer and what would that look like? It gave it to me. Like, dumbed down, stupid, simple, amazing. Then I said, and I already have my pillars, but I wanted to see what it would recommend because what I think might not be the best suited for my audience, and AI is faster when it comes to knowing exactly what they want than I am. So I said, what messaging pillars with my audience's pain points and desires in mind should guide my content strategy? And it gave me that. And it was pretty much already what I currently do, but it was nice to have that validation and knowing that what I thought is right on point. And then I said, what are the biggest objections my audience likely has and how can I address them? Now, hear me when I say this. The objections are so incredibly important because you can use that in your content. If you can already address the objection that your audience already has before they even come to you, I mean, that's a sale in a handbag. Like, that's just like, sign me up, check. Like, they're ready to go because you've already addressed it. So asking and getting clarity on the objections that your audience has is so incredibly important. Then I said, how should I structure my weekly content to lead people toward the offer? And that was more so kind of like a weekly content strategy, which I already know how to do that. And I'm pretty I again was just asking for more clarity. And if I was already on the right path, I was, thankfully. And then the last question was, what would a 90-day marketing plan look like to get traction organically? Again, something I'm very good at doing personally and I help people with. So this was more of a validation point just to make sure that what I'm currently doing is what would best be recommended for my audience. But it did give some things that I was not considering, and that was really cool. So what surprised me the most by going through this is, look, I thought I was clear on who I served, but when ChatGPT asked me to define my ideal client in a single sentence, that's one of the things it asked me to do, I realized that I was a little too broad. That one question forced me to really niche down in a way that, if I'm being honest, I think I was avoiding. And if you feel like you're struggling with something, again, do not hesitate to tell it that and say, I'm really struggling with this. Like, I need you to tell me the hard truth with where I'm at and what I'm thinking on this. And it'll get nasty with you. It'll get like tough love real with you. And sometimes that's a good thing. So then I thought about like what really worked well through going through this process, right? Well, the funnel mapping, that was so incredibly simple, but it was so incredibly clear at the same time. I've gone through so many coaches and done so many different calls that many of the coaches that I've, worked with, God love them, they're great, and I've gained so much insight and value from every single one of them. But what could be communicated in a single 30-minute session took about 6 different flipping calls. And it's just, no, that was not needed. Like, we could have just gotten to the point already, and ChatGPT kind of did that. And then just having the ability to rephrase my offer in plain language helped me get way more confident in talking out loud about what it is that I do and what it is that I'm able to offer service-based business owners that are interested in streamlining their processes in their business and attract their dream audience and turn leads into loyal customers. And that was just very helpful for me. And then where it shifted my thinking, I think, is I used to think that I needed like a full day to brainstorm and whiteboard session myself into like clarity. And it turns out I just needed some good prompts and some good questions and conversation with Chachi on a morning walk. And that's like really all that it was. But honestly, it made me treat ChatGPT less like a toy, which I think I've been doing more so now. I've really been diving into AI and learning it and its capabilities, and I'm mind blown because when you can do that, you start learning to use it more of like a legit tool, like a sounding board that I can honestly use to sharpen my own thinking on the fly. And I said this today in a piece of content. I don't even know if it's posted yet. Probably not. I think I'm going to post it soon. But I was basically saying that we need to reframe our thinking around AI and tools like ChatGPT, or like there's so many different tools other than ChatGPT, like ChatGPT, Perplexity, ClickUp has AI involved in it. Like there's so many platforms. But so many people think that like, oh, it's going to take my job. No, it's not going to take your job because we still need the human side of things, but it's going to enhance your job. It's going to enhance your skill sets. And if you don't learn how to use these tools now, I mean, you're going to fall behind. Straight up, you are going to fall behind. So it is time to dig the heels in, go into a place that you feel super uncomfortable and just start learning, just start messing around with it and go above and beyond. Hey, can you help me write an email for this? Like that is like basic. And trust me, I was there. I was doing basic communication with ChatGPT, but now I'm full on developing mode of like developing a bunch of different things. And it blows my mind. So here's the bottom line. All right. You don't need to start out thinking like a strategist, but if you want to grow a business that actually scales, you've got to start training that muscle. This method, like letting ChatGPT ask you the questions first, is so incredibly powerful, and it's a powerful shortcut. It gets you out of your head and into strategic clarity fast. But the thing is AI is just a mirror. It can reflect back ideas, pressure test them, and move you forward. But if you know what to ask and how to use what is given to you, that's when things start to click. And if you don't, that's what I teach you. I help entrepreneurs take tools like ChatGPT, automation, and systems and actually use them to scale smarter, not just faster. But it always starts with clarity. And if today you even got the smallest taste of that, you're already ahead of the game. So make this a habit. Use it when you're pivoting, launching, or just feeling stuck. And when you're ready to build that back end and simplify systems and scale without burning out, reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram, send me a DM. That's where we'll connect at Hey Whitney K, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for taking the time to listen in to today's episode on Uno Mas Podcast. What can you do to support the show moving forward? Well, you can subscribe on your favorite platform, leave a review or a rating, because it's your reviews that matter most, and it's your reviews that help us get the show discovered by new listeners. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends, family, and followers on all your social media accounts, tagging me at The Whitney K or at Uno Mas Podcast for a spotlight feature on our social platforms. Now, if you're a female entrepreneur who's ready to ditch the overwhelm, stream your business operations, and create a brand that deeply resonates with your audience, it's time to take the next step. Visit Eden with an IDEN.agency to learn more about my strategic synergy partnership, a personalized one-on-one partnership experience where we'll work together to implement the tools, systems, and strategies you need to scale with confidence, save time, and achieve sustainable growth. Don't wait. Your business deserves clarity, efficiency, and success. So let's make it happen together.